Good morning, good people. It's your man, Investing with Cam. I hope everybody's been having a great past couple of weeks, and I hope everybody's next week is great as well. I haven't posted anything in a while. I've been experimenting, especially when you're dealing with your personal finances, is not necessarily a good thing. But I'm just trying to maximize the little bit amount of money that I do have and try and, turn some profits wherever I can. And so with that being said, as you can see on the screen right now, I'm showing you guys Wolfspeed, in which Wolfspeed, if you haven't heard of them, they're an innovator in wide band gap semiconductors focused on silicon carbide, and gallium nitride materials and devices for power and radio frequency applications. And so a lot of their products or whatever have you, the semiconductors are used for EV vehicles, 5G network, and a few other things. But as well, they have been going through some trying times as far as this company. And I say that because they may be filing for bankruptcy, in which this makes investing in this company extremely risky, in which if they go into bankruptcy, there's a possibility that anybody that owns any type of stock in this company could basically be liquidated and lose everything that they have invested, in which you can see I am also invested in this company at this point in time. And the reason being is that I was running options on this stock, and I was doing put options. I was selling put options on this stock because it's extremely cheap, but the premium, because of the volatility, is extremely high for such a cheap stock. Typically you don't get this type of premium with a stock that is as low priced as Wolfspeed is right now. And I'm going to show you guys in depth what I mean by the premium that it's paying out. But yeah, so with that being said, as you can see here, I now have 6,100 shares of Wolfspeed, in which I was just assigned these shares this past Friday. Just because I was selling a put option at $1.50, and as you can see here, Wolfspeed is now trading at $1.30 per share. So it's not too far off from the $1.50 price point. But because I was selling options on it and I received premium, my average cost is less than what the stock is trading for right now, which my average cost is $1.24. So it shows that I'm actually in the positive with owning these 6,100 shares of Wolfspeed. And when I say that they've gone through some trying times, let's just look at from the beginning of this year till now. Wolfspeed has lost almost $5.50 per share since the start of the year, in which if Wolfspeed was to get back that $5.50, I would make a considerable amount of money based off of what I have invested in this stock. So it's one of those plays to where, like I say, it could go all the way down to its lowest price point, in which that was 82 cents. And that happened about 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, that it went that low. But literally the next day, Wolfspeed was back to over $1.50. But this is all speculative thinking, so to speak, in which, like I said, Wolfspeed could literally shoot back up $3 or $4, and I would literally make $10,000 to $15,000 off of my original investment, which would be amazing. But I'm not necessarily banking on that. I would love for that to happen. I would love for it to just go to $10. I mean, I roughly, as you can see here, am invested, let's just say $7,600. In which if it was to go to $10, that would be $61,000 that this position would be worth. But once again, that's just me thinking positively, and anything can happen. And I say that because, believe it or not, I had ran options on Carvana. And when that was when Carvana was at the $30 price point around there. And so I ended up being assigned 400 shares of Carvana. And what I did was I sold a call option on those shares, but I sold it out for like 8 months out. And literally within that 8-month time frame, Carvana started to slowly go up higher and higher to the point where, as you can see, Carvana is at almost $300 per share. So just imagine if I was able to just be patient, hold on to my 400 shares, I would have made a ton of money. But that didn't happen. And I'm not going to dwell on that because that's in the past. And so I'm focusing on what could happen in the near future with me owning Wolfspeed right now. But let me show you guys what I mean by the premium that you get from selling options with Wolfspeed. So I'm just going to go to next Friday as far as the expiration date. And so I'm going to do sell put. And so I was selling puts because there had been several times, and I'll show you guys, where the share price was below the $1.50 strike price that I had been choosing. And so let's just say if I chose this $1.50 strike price, which is in the money, and let's just say if you have a $1,000 account, with a $1,000 account, you literally could sell, let's say, roughly about 7 options. Well, maybe a little less than that. Let's just say 6 options. And with those 6 options, you can make $167.74 for the week. And so it's rare that you're able to find, like I say, such a low price stock and be able to receive that type of premium. And you can see that I own 6,100 shares. So that would equate to $1,705 in premium that I would receive if I was able to run this play. But I'm no longer able to sell puts right now, so I'm having to do calls. And so my plan is to possibly maybe do 1 week to 2 weeks out when I'm selling my calls. And so with the 61 shares that I have, let's just say if I do it for expiring next Friday with my 61 shares, I would get a premium of over $300, which is actually pretty good when you're actually selling options, especially on such, once again, a cheap stock. But if I go out an additional 1 week further out and do my 61, I would actually make $729 in premium by going 2 weeks out. And so I'm kind of on the fence because what I don't want to do is go 2 weeks out and then Wolfspeed starts to gain some traction and actually goes up over $1.50 within that 2 week time frame, in which I'm not really concerned about it because I would get back the money that I invested, as well as some additional money, because it would be back at that $1.50 to where you saw that my average cost was $1.24. So I may just do a week out, but also what I want to say, if Wolfspeed starts to go back up in price, let's say on Monday, because the further in the week you go, the less premium you're going to receive. But let's say if Wolfspeed decides to go back up to $1.45, then this call would more than likely, I would receive more premium when selling my call, because once the stock price starts to go up, the premium amount that one would receive actually goes up as well. And so I'm going to be a little patient. I'm not just going to go and sell a call first thing and Monday morning, unless, like I say, the price of Wolfspeed is gaining traction first thing in the morning. But I'm just going to wait it out and see where it goes, because if it hits $1.45, I may actually be able to get 10 to 11 cents in premium and only have to sell this call a week out. And possibly I could sell the $2 call depending on how high it goes. And so we're just going to wait, and I'll let you guys know how it turns out come tomorrow when I sell my call. But I want to show you guys here in the history some of the premium that I have received by selling these options on Wolfspeed. So you're going to see a lot of canceled ones just because I was trying to possibly close out my position and get most of the premium before my put options had expired. but I wasn't able to, and so I just said I'm not going to worry about it, and I was assigned these shares. But if you look here, let's go a little bit further down. Let's go. I want to start. When did I start selling these calls? So I started selling calls recently. It was last month. So on May 23rd, as you can see here, I sold a $1.50 put option and received $476 in premium. And so then what I did is I went and sold another option that expired a week later on June the 6th. And that was at $1.50, and I received $1,320. So as you can see, that's about $1,800 at that point in time that I had received. But I turned around and closed the one that I had opened that was to expire on May the 30th. I went and closed it, or bought it back at $2 or $252. So that means that I got roughly about $220 in premium from that initial sale put that I had done, because I bought it back for less than what I had received when I sold that put option. And so as I scroll up here, you're going to see where I went and sold another put option with that money that I had gotten back from closing out this one right here that I had that would have expired on the 30th of May. And so I went to open another one that expired on the 6th of June, and I received $490 in premium at that point. And so as we go further up, you can see where when I received that $490 in premium, I went and took that premium and sold a $1 put that would have expired on the 13th of June, and I received $143 in premium. And then I turned around the next day and closed that one out, and I only received about $39, maybe a little less because of the fees from that particular option, but I still was in the green by doing so. And then I turned around and sold another put option with that money at the $1.50 strike price that expired on the 13th as well, and received $250 in premium. And so I eventually ended up closing out the ones that I had that would have expired on the 6th of June. And I closed those out, that was out at that point, it was about $1,800 and something bucks, to where I closed it out and bought it back for $594, meaning that I received over $1,300 in premium from those puts that I sold that would have closed or that would have expired on the 6th. And so Wolfspeed was actually trading below the $1.50 price point at that time. It was like $1.46 or something like that. And so I was able to close it out on, as you can see here, the 6th, which is the expiration date, and I received majority of the premium that I had been initially given. But like I said, I had to pay back $594 of that $1,800 premium that I initially received. And so what I did on the 6th, because I like to try to close them out before expiration and then open up another option trade for the following week, or maybe even 2 weeks out. And so I took it and I went and immediately opened up a $1.50 put option and received $1,326. And so that was my last trade that I did, because I ended up being assigned those 6,100 shares. As you can see here, it says -150, but it's not necessarily negative or 9,150, because the premium of the 1,326 actually comes out of that 9,150. But once those 61 shares that I have goes back up to the $1.50 price point, then I would have that 9,100 and some odd dollars, because it's at the $1.50 strike price, or the $1.50 price point. But like I say, and so that's why, as you can see, my average cost is $1.24, because of that premium being deducted out of that 91.50. And that's why, like I say, I'm in the positive right now. But once again, I really believe that Wolf will go back up to at least $1.50. It may we may actually get some good news, and it may go back up to the $5 or $6 price point or higher, because there were times that Wolfspeed, as you can see here, let's go to July of last year. It was at $24. You know, last year even higher than that, but I'm just going to the $24 to show you that, you know, roughly about a year ago it was up to $24. But that also shows you just how bad Wolfspeed has been to have lost all of that money in a matter of a year's time. But anything's possible. Like I say, I was in Carvana and I saw personally what Carvana had done, and so I have some faith in Wolfspeed just because of the industry that it's in, and it's not many companies, most definitely not in the United States, that does what Wolfspeed does either. And so they're actually working on some things with other companies, trying to restructure their debt and all that good stuff. And so hopefully we get some good news, all the ones that are in Wolfspeed or the ones that may actually get into Wolfspeed, because at this point, let's just say if you did want to start trading options on Wolfspeed, personally what I would be doing is selling calls maybe 2 weeks out, or selling puts, maybe 2 weeks out, and I would do the dollar price point. Because for one, you would be able to sell more options, and you would be able to receive some decent premium. So let's just say if I had the money that's now invested in Wolfspeed just sitting in cash, and so I would be able to buy roughly about 70 contracts, which would equate to $836. So roughly about $400 per week as far as during that 2 week time frame, and that's really good money, you know. But once again, it is a you know, it is a risk involved in any type of trade, but most definitely in a company that we know is on the brink of possibly going into bankruptcy and filing Chapter 11. But even if, you know, one was to sell the option a week from now, which would basically not a week from now, but would expire this up and coming Friday. I mean, $416 for the week. Some people may not make that working, but you may have saved up some money or whatever have you, and you're able to invest that money and be able to have that money make you money, because there's a high probability that Wolfspeed won't go back down below the dollar. But if it was to go back down below that dollar price point, and the premium, because sometimes when a stock drops really low, you're not able to sell options on it. So let's just say if Wolfspeed was to go all the way down to 50 or 40 cents, then you may not be able to sell any calls on it for a week out. You may have to go 2 weeks out or a month out to even get any type of premium. But it's just a risk you may take. But I doubt that Wolfspeed in the next few weeks, I should say, goes that low. I really do believe that it's going to go back over that $1.50 in the upcoming weeks. And, you know, at that point, I may get out of it and start trying to find another stock to sell options on that may get me some decent premium. But with smaller amounts of money, Wolfspeed right now is the best stock to sell options on. You know, if you had 60 grand, 70 grand, then you could sell options on stocks like Hood, which is Robinhood, or Nvidia or Palantir, and be able to make some decent premium, but you have to have a lot of money to do so. And so I just wanted to share that little information with you guys. I hadn't, like I said, posted anything recently, and most definitely this is not financial advice. This is just something that I'm doing. I'm taking a risk, and sometimes you take risk and you reap great rewards. And so we'll see how everything turns out. And like I said, I'll keep you guys updated, because I am going to, or I'm planning to sell the call come tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know how that turns out. But hope everybody has a great Sunday and a great week, and let's make some money together. Talk to you soon.